folks. It's Hobby Talk with PSA Canada for May 18th, 2023. We got the full crew here. Good evening, Kevin. How are you?
I'm good. How are you?
Doing well, doing well. We got the little corner of the office there, so that's perfect. Just a slightly different vantage point than the usual. You got a little bit of an angle. You found your good
No,
side?
I'm at my in-laws. So I'm actually in my brother-in-law's bedroom.
There
He's
you
a
go.
he's a he's a Lego guy at
All right, I was going to say,
Raptors.
yeah, we got some background stuff going on there. All right,
So
all
a
right.
little different than my room, but I'll take it. I'll take
Yeah,
it.
that's fair enough. Worst comes to worst, you can play with some Legos, so it'll all work
Exact.
out.
Oh, I
It'll work
miss
out.
Lego. I miss
Yeah,
Lego.
there you go. Mr. Luke, good evening. How are you?
Yes, I'm good. How are you, Carlos?
Doing well. I'm doing well. Having fun. We had a little warm weather and then we cooled it right back down. And right now today is kind of a cool weather. So we bring back the hoodies. It's hoodie weather today again. So Brad, how are things out in your neck of the woods? How are things?
Good. Yeah, very productive week. Busy as usual, but very good. Looking forward. We have our card show this weekend here.
Mm-hmm.
So we'll be setting up tomorrow, and that runs all Saturday from 9 till 2. So that's pretty exciting for us.
Mm-hmm. Gotta love
You
it.
have trade night tomorrow night too, right?
And we got, trade night at AMG Collectibles, which it's always a fun night. So I really look forward to that. Show off some of my new pickups as well.
Nice, nice. So a couple of things. First one off the top, and I will start making adjustments to a couple of the various areas. We had talked about it already a little bit. We had a chance. Brad and I actually had a chance to talk this past weekend, and I'll talk about that show in a little bit here. We'll get into that. But we're gonna keep doing the live stream here like this, but we're gonna be doing it on Thursdays. We're gonna bump it up an hour. So we're gonna make it 8 p.m. Eastern time. Everybody had a chat and we were able to work it out. Timing wise, it makes a little bit more sense for us. But it also is going to be just adjusting the normal schedule from before. So I think that's going to be very important. And then we'll also talk about any other changes or any other announcements coming up from there. But first one is just that we'll bump up the timeline Thursday 8 p.m. instead of Thursday 9 p.m., but otherwise the same night. Let me read a couple of these comments here, and then we'll get into a couple of announcements and discussion pieces, and we'll do it. So good evening, Dave. Good evening, Paul. I don't know if Ruin the Hobby I Love works for a sports card shop grand opening. I'm not sure if you're quite catching the vibe you want to be shooting with. But anyway, good evening, James. Absolutely. Does PSA Canada have a sports card investment strategy? A box submitter should be having an investment strategy. That normally works against the concept. The investment strategy is submit with PSA. That's the strategy. Good evening, Jeff. Absolutely. Now, before we go, so any announcements, upcoming shows, any other elements to it, anything else coming up here, Brad, that we want to touch on just off the top, coming forward in the next little bit?
Yeah. To give an update, I guess we can say we'll have every card that we took in from all the shows on our little cross-country ventures over the last 2 months will be at PSA by the end of next week.
Mm-hmm.
Everything from the Toronto Expo is now at PSA, safe and secure. The last thing I just finished up was the tickets, and those always take some time. I know Kevin's been pumping out orders left, right, and center, and we've made a couple adjustments with him and PSA Canada to make life easier for him and ourselves. So we're doing that.
Now we're rolling.
Yeah. Luke's working on he finished off all the Langley shipments from the Langley show. Now he's working on finishing up Edmonton, which will be all at PSA by the end of next week. And we should have submission numbers available for everyone by the end of next week. That's our goal, and I'm pretty sure that's going to happen. So
Nice. I like it. Also, in the same vein, obviously we've got a little bit. I know you've got the trade night coming up at AMG. That's going to be coming up tomorrow, and then I think you've got the card show also coming up this upcoming weekend. So over in your neck of the woods. So you've got that going on. Is that monthly card show? I think it is.
yeah, we do it monthly. We depends on when we can get the venue. We try to do it the last Saturday of every month. That was always our goal, but the venue we get such a great deal. That's why we can offer our vendors such a great deal as well. But the next show after that will be the June 24th, 25th weekend. So
Nice. And then as we get into the upcoming shows in the upcoming weeks, we'll be touching on those just to give everybody a reminder where they'll be dropping off. But they did a little bit of a whirlwind tour, and we'll talk about that here in a second. And also this here, Super Hockey. Not much content on the channel other than the beloved live streams. That's something Brad and I chatted about. So we'll get to that. We'll get to that piece in a minute. Funny you mentioned that. You're not the only person who it's something we've wanted to resolve for a while, but it was a matter of planning, timing, and talking about it and getting it. We had a little bit of a chance to discuss it, but it's something we're working on that we want to get moving on to it. It can't just be, originally our plan was to have a daily episode of Where is the Cheese String 'em On, but Kevin couldn't fit into a schedule.
I'm busy. I got a baby.
Hmm. It was going to be daily. It was going to be fantastic. He was going to try to chase down. Man, it was going to be exciting. I had to scrap that one. It made me very sad. It was also going to be on episode 7 of the Golden Touch. We missed out. We couldn't quite get to episode 7. We didn't make it there. CC, good evening. Absolutely. Okay. So you guys did a couple of shows. So obviously there was the Montreal. I want to say Lanty Expo, but I think they just changed it to like Sports Card Expo or Montreal Card Expo. I forget. Like just something in that vein. So first of all, Luke, you and Brad were both there for that portion of it. So in your estimation, let me start with Luke. Luke, you were there for I think the duration of the Montreal show. How was it?
You know, it's good. I mean, I think it's very similar to the last one. This venue is a little different. Montreal is just it was very quite far away from where the last one was, which is in Laval.
Okay.
And this one here was in actual Montreal. I'm pretty sure it's close to downtown Montreal. I mean, it's like 10 minutes or 15 minutes from everywhere. Depends on the traffic and stuff like that, right? But yeah, I mean, traffic flow was I think the same. Sunday was a little bit slower, obviously with Mother's Day.
Sure.
Saturday was busy, and then I think Friday was a little bit slower. But there's they were open 2 I think, or 2 to 9.
Mm-hmm.
So it was a little longer that day. But I mean, coming from like a big show like Toronto and then going to Montreal, it kind of seemed like, well, so small, so slow, right? But
Fair enough. There is something to be said, though, I think, for the smaller shows. You can still, because I watched a couple of vlogs. There wasn't a lot coming out of Montreal, but I did see a couple of vlogs on it. And it did seem like there was some decent merchandise. There did seem like there was some cards and stuff in there. And you also, ironically, had more time to be able to look around and talk through certain pieces and things. So that portion of it isn't bad. And then we'll touch on it. And other than that, Luke, I think you were able to get sandwiches. So I think that it wasn't a complete loss for you, right?
Nope. We got the sandwiches.
Yeah. So what was the name of the place again?
Lester's.
Yeah. So Luke swears by them. Luke was a fan. Luke was Luke was a fan. So not a total loss.
It was delicious.
Yeah. Luke was in favor of it. It's like even if the show had been a disaster, Brad, as long as he was able to get a sandwich, like it wasn't a total loss.
No, it was good. But speaking of when he mentioned Mother's Day, I didn't really think of the effects of that coming in. My mother was away, so it didn't affect me. So she wasn't going to be there on Sunday. But I honestly think that going forward, that show promoters, based upon the 2 shows, we'll talk more about the other, but based upon those, I think Mother's Day weekend it's a really bad idea to have any shows on that weekend. I think it's kind of push it ahead or push it back, whatever it is. But I did notice at the Montreal show, one of the things, there was no Ontario dealers. It was really Montreal and East. If you look at the setup of dealers, and a lot of guys that were dropping off cards to us mentioned that to me, that they didn't see anyone from Ontario or out West at this show this time. And I didn't really notice it. And then I looked around the room and it was really Montreal East. And I think that had to do with having Toronto and Edmonton and Vancouver all, within the 6-week period prior to the Montreal show. So I think guys kind of were fatigued and got worn out, and a lot of guys didn't have inventory to do the show. So,
and you also forced a bit of a judgment call because, and we'll talk about the CSC show here in a second. But like for example, Carlos with a K, other Carlos from Sluggers, he was at the CSC show. So obviously, then if he's at the CSC show, he can't do anything in Montreal show because they're happening simultaneously. You got to make a choice, pick and choose. I think given the way it worked out, he might have preferred to go to the Montreal show, all things considered. But we'll talk about that here in a second. But yeah, no, it makes sense. The only thing is, I think this time of the for May, it's tricky because obviously this past weekend we had Mother's Day. I think that was a factor. I think the fact that this was the first nice weekend for people to go to cottage country was a major factor because on Friday the traffic was insane coming out of my area, and I'm near one of the hubs. And the other piece of the puzzle that I would throw out there. Now the problem is, okay, so bump it up a week. Well, upcoming here we've got the May 2-4 weekend. So, you've got, I think it'll be just right after, isn't it, Kevin? The Monday is the off day, right?
Yes.
Yeah, so we got a long weekend coming up here. Well, some people are going to be in cottage. So imagine if you're trying to run a show around these parts, you're going to have the same thing. If you go look on Friday, you're going to see the highway is going to be full of people driving down to go to cottage country this weekend to take advantage of the long weekend. And I guarantee the local LCBOs are going to be packed. Let's just say a little bit. As people, apparently the world will end. And there will be no more beer because everyone will need to get it between today, tomorrow, and Saturday. That's what always happens whenever there's a long weekend. I'm just throwing it out there. It's just something. Okay, so let's chat a little bit about. So let's talk about the CSU show, Brad. So I'll give a little bit of background on Saturday. Because obviously you came in a little later, and Brad and I were able to hang out a bit, and then on Sunday, Bobby Burrell, we were able to hang out a little bit with him, and we were able to look. The best part of it was hanging out, watching the hockey game after on Saturday. I'll get to that in a second, and breakfast on Sunday. Those are the best parts. And Brad's lack of faith that Carlos could get up in the morning on Sunday, and I did. I was there first, Brad. I was there first.
He did. I was shocked.
Psh, ye of little faith, sir. Ye of little. Look, for breakfast, I can make these things happen, Brad. For breakfast, I can make these things happen. That's what I'm trying to say. But on Saturday, I will say, I got in there, not early afternoon, but I got in there with hours left on the show on Saturday. But at the same time, I noticed almost immediately, and this is something I talked about on my own channel when I discussed it. I noticed very quickly that the location was nice. The room was nice. It was a very spacious room. On paper, it could have been very, like, if there had been the foot traffic to back it up, I think the potential was there. But the splitting with Montreal thing, I think, was a factor too. I think it hurt both shows because it forced people to make a decision between one and the other. So you didn't get the maximum quality. Because you could tell in the CSU show, and this is my assessment, and I want to get Brad's take on it too. It felt like some of the dealers, for how expensive those tables were, some of the dealers, I don't think were prepared to bring the correct inventory to try to make up the money difference. Like, some of the tables were not full enough. Like, in my opinion, they're not full enough tables to account for hundreds of dollars per table. So it's like there weren't cheap tables. So it's one of those things where it's like, well, how are you going to make your money then? Like, you can do whatever you want. You can put dollar bins, you can put whatever you want, put your slabs, put whatever. It just felt like there was some weekend warrior operations. I'm like, this is a very expensive weekend warrior operation, guys. Really, really pricey to be doing it at this scenario. Although I did see a few dealers who managed to do well because they understood how to price things and found ways to make it work for them. For other ones, it was a bit of a ghost town, even on Saturday, even in the afternoon. And then I think, and this is where Brad comes in, he was able to join in right around the time that the trade night started. And Brad and I went to visit it. But I think the damage that was done on the Saturday, I think hurt the trade night. And in turn, the damage on both of those hurt the Sunday. Because one bled into another. As you struggled with one, it made people less inclined to stick around for trade night. And in turn, it made them less inclined to set up again on Sunday. Because on Sunday, we definitely had a lot more room than we did on Saturday. Some people took advantage of that and made the booths a little bit bigger. I noticed that too. But it was a bit of a slow movement. So, Brad, just from your assessment, obviously we did the trade night. How do you want to phrase what the trade night was?
Yeah, trade night was probably about 10 guys sitting with some cards on top of their table.
Yeah.
And not much going on, Again, I do feel anyone that puts an effort in to put on an event, I give them credit. And it was a beautiful venue, like Carlos said. Beautiful venue. The hotel was great. The room was great. All that was. But at the end of the day, there just was no people. If you told me more than a dozen people paid to get in on Sunday, up until 12 o'clock anyways, when we were there, we were the first ones there at 10, and there just nobody showed up. And I don't think it was from lack of effort. That's for sure. I think
the foot traffic was down in the breakfast buffet, Luke. Let me tell you, the breakfast buffet, the foot traffic down there, it was busy. It was booming down there.
Yeah, more than eggs and sausage.
There was a lot. There was egg, sausage, pancakes, variety of different. It's like I was like, all right, this is way too expensive. By the way, the breakfast was like $30. It's not cheap. It's not cheap breakfast. So I filled up that plate. Let me tell you, but to try to get my money's worth. But it was good. I'll say it was good. I enjoyed it.
It's tough, honestly, I talked to Kevin about it as well, and just said, these guys, considering the last one, there was that many people there, so maybe the CSU show should be back in. What was that? Mississauga?
It was a conference center.
Mississauga,
yeah. Maybe that's where it should be, and not where it was located at, or I'm not exactly sure, and not on Mother's Day weekend. But hopefully they don't. Hopefully the team doesn't get too discouraged, and they try to do.
They're hosting the TCG one in Mississauga.
Okay.
When I spoke to a couple people who were involved, they said that they're going to be probably transitioning back to a one-day show just for the foreseeable future, just to kind of see how that weathers the storm. But yeah, it's definitely. I heard from, like I said, from you and a couple other people. I had a customer come down from a little bit northern Ontario because he just had to be in the GTA anyway. So he went and he was like, Kevin, I feel bad for all the vendors. There was maybe 12 people that weren't vendors there on the Sunday, but hopefully, I mean, like I said, hopefully they continue forward. It would be nice to have something quarterly as opposed to just the expo, but we'll see.
Yeah,
But I think
agree.
this hotel I think was where they had the first one, and it was very good. I heard, and then he moved to the Mississauga one, right? So I mean, I think it's probably the Mother's Day weekend that really killed it all. And like you said, I mean, 2 weeks prior to that was the Expo, right? So
Yeah. Well, that was the impression I got because one of the gentlemen, the name keeps escaping me. I keep forgetting. Fan of yours, Luke. By the way, the Luke discount still worked. The Luke discount
John?
still worked. Thank you, John.
John?
Yeah. So John. So hey, good evening, John. So yeah, no, but I was chatting with him a little bit, and it was the same thing. He was saying the last Markham show did all right. It was this one that seemed to be a lot colder. And he was one of the ones that decided not to come back for the Sunday, which I can't blame him. It's one of those things where like it was quiet for those guys, and I think the weekend might have. I treated it like a mini vacation, so for me it wasn't a big deal. Plus, when Brad said he was coming down, it was like, no, this is a perfect opportunity for us to kind of, we were able to have a nice conversation and discuss a lot of different things that I think will bear some fruit for us here down the road. But it was good to be able to have that opportunity to just sit and have that conversation. And honestly, the lounge just watching the game was fun. So I was able to enjoy that aspect. Still make something out of it, and I was still able to find some things myself. But one other aspect, one other factor, and Kevin, you can speak to this one a little bit from the last experience in the Mississauga one, because I think the price of the tables probably would have been similar. What was the price of the tables last time?
I don't know, man. Last time I paid way too much for what I got.
Yeah.
But I also wasn't as prepared as I should have been.
Mm-hmm.
But I think it was $500 for the table and then a sponsorship, which was an extra some number, but $500 for the premium table, which was the 4 6-foot tables.
Yeah, my understanding was that it was the same price point because Dave was asking how much was the table. What I was hearing, 500 or 600. Now here's the problem, and Brad, you can attest to this. Foot traffic or not, $500 or $600 is a lot to ask for a table. If you're talking about like a non-premium event, because if you're talking about at an expo and one of those events where you're going to get foot traffic, because at an expo you've got certain brand name and they know how to promote it and they know how to do all that. Markham's a little bit out of the way. It's one of those things like again, the venue is very nice. It's a very nice venue, and they certainly had a large room to put the stuff in. But at the same time, it's like it's a bit of a hike for most people in the GTA. You got to kind of figure out how you want to get there on the weekend. Even if it hadn't been the Mother's Day weekend, it's still a little bit of a hike. It's still a little bit of a challenge figuring out exactly how you want to get over there. But again, if there had been more foot traffic, I think it would have helped. But at the same time, it's like I still got the impression, and this is just me, for whatever the case may be, I felt like some of the dealers weren't. I think they would have still struggled, even if they had the requisite foot traffic, because I saw the inventory on the tables and I was like, I don't know how you're going to make $500 or $600 back in profit.
But you got to keep in mind when you look at the expo, you're dealing with more like, I don't know how to say this politely, more seasoned sellers who are okay wheeling and dealing and knowing, okay, I might have $600 into a card, but if I sell it for $400, I can use that $400 and do something else with it. I'm not going to get that $600. Whereas my understanding of the CSC show is always that it's a lot of younger guys. Mm-hmm. Younger guys, on an economical standpoint, just don't know how to take a loss and move on from a card, and they'll always want. If I bought it for $600, I need to get $600. I cannot take less than $600. So I know that that's an issue that struggles with the CSC shows. It's a lot of really young vendors in comparison.
I think though you create a bit of a scenario that makes your situation worse though, because if you're starting off at like $400, $500, $600 per table, and Brad can attest to this, the show they're running, the table price is very reasonable. At the table price that they're able to get, that they were setting up their show at, these guys would have been okay, because they could have still made some profit on it. At least
I could fly to Nova Scotia and set up for cheaper than what it takes to set up.
Actually, yes, you could have.
Right?
We could have visited Keith's factory. Like, man, we could have made a whole weekend out of it. Amazing.
It's true. It's all I mean, me and you, Carlos, we talked about it. It's like, what do you want out of a card show? You know, if you want to go high end and you want to stay at a nice hotel and have all that, it's an awesome venue. But you're either going to pay, the dealers are going to pay for it, or the people getting into the show are going to pay a high admission fee. We battle that, and I've had numerous conversations over the last 2 or 3 months with Doug and Bill, who run the show here with me, and sometimes we don't always see eye to eye on things. And I love our show. It's 65 dealers, 170 tables, sold out every show. $2 to get in. After 11 o'clock, it's free for the people that don't want to pay, and it's $20 a table. That includes everything there. So when we do that, we've got guys now from out of town that want to come in, and I go back at it and say, I love what we have here. Everyone's affordable. We have guys that, you know, set up their table and they look a little sparse sometimes, but they're covering $20 and they're having fun. I'm not going to push those guys out. They're having a blast at this show. They've been supporting it for 20 years. So I would sooner have a card show not at the nicest venue per se, reduce the cost for dealers, reduce the cost of admission. At the end of the day, we're coming in there to buy and sell cards. That's the whole objective of this. So if you want to make a show, do it the other way, that's fine. But I think everyone should take a little after our model to make it affordable for everyone, and you'll get way more people and the dealers will be happy, right?
How many tables do they have at this show?
And so you got the version where some people left, Brad. So I'll try to give. Okay, so let's do this on the Sunday, Brad. If you were to guesstimate, how many tables would you say were on the Sunday?
100.
Yeah. Okay. And again, when we're saying tables, we're counting like if somebody has a booth that has 4 tables, we're counting tables. So not dealers, but tables.
Yeah.
I'm going to say there was maybe another, probably closer to 130, 140 originally, but some of those tables went away when some of those dealers didn't set up on Sunday. I'll put it that way. But again, in terms, I said tables, not dealers. Tables, physical tables. If you buy 2 tables, you've got 2 tables, you're one dealer. So it was like that. But again, some of them were set up pretty sparse. And that kind of plays into what Dave was saying here. At $500 tables, you'd be planning to selling $5K to make it worthwhile. For some of these guys who are traveling and stuff, yeah. It was a bit tough. And I know Hockey had his question. I'll get back to it here in a minute, but let me read through a couple. How was the quality of cards at the Markham show? Do you think admission fee impacted foot traffic? The admission fee, I don't think affected foot traffic. I think it was everything else, because LGC is talking about here. Some folks that would have gone to the Markham show were at the Jays game. That's rough, though, when people are making that judgment call. It's like, and by the way, I watched the Jays game from the lounge while Brad was traveling. I went through the show for a little bit on the Saturday, and then I went down to the lounge and I was watching the Jays game before Brad shows up. When Brad showed up, I was watching the TV. I was hanging out. And the quality of cards, there were some decent quality. Like I made the joke about Carlos with a K and everything, but Slugger Springs usually, they've got some decent high-end stuff and mid-end stuff, and they brought in some stuff that wasn't as super crazy price. They had a 51 Bowman Mantle there. They had some nice stuff, but they also had some stuff that was a little more attainable. And then you had folks that had $50 cards, $20 cards, $100 cards, $500 cards. So there's a bit of a mix. I felt like the quality was okay, despite there just weren't enough dealers that it felt like we're actually planning to do the show. Again, foot traffic would help them a lot. But I do think, like, going back to Dave's comment, I actually think for some of these guys, even if foot traffic had been amazing, I'm not convinced they would have had a good show. Because I looked at those tables and I'm like, some of these prices are off. If you're not willing to really move off these prices, you're not going to get, I don't care if I 10x your foot traffic, you're still not going to sell it. Another guy, one of the guys that I was there with that I bought a couple of things from, he had relatively modest stuff. But here's the thing. He would make bundles with folks, sell 20, 30, 40 cards at a time, and make 50, 60, 70 bucks at a time. And by the time he was done, I chatted with him a couple of times. He goes, oh, man, the show is great. I would definitely set up again. And if you looked at his table, it looked pretty modest the way it was set up, but he had actually sold through enough of the stuff that he wanted to sell through that he had actually been profitable at that show and then some. So it is possible. And that was with the same light foot traffic as everybody else.
It makes me wonder about the other show that I think it was it November that you guys came to?
Yes, the one in the other one in Mississauga. Yeah.
Yeah, I wonder how everyone did in that one in terms of overall amount.
Yeah.
Like if they made a lot of money, like I don't know. The foot traffic was good in that one, but I don't know if people were buying.
So you go ahead, Luke.
Sorry, that one was like in January, which is like the first show of the year, right?
Right. Right. I had a baby, so I forgot.
Yeah, it's right after like Christmas and holidays, and people came out. I think it's the first show of the year, which is great. And I think that brings it. But I think the promoter has a different idea about this place. I think it's wrong in the sense that he's targeting more of like a corporate kind of thing, where it's like the Toronto, the Expo and stuff which in turn, it could work, but he's competing against the big dogs. Like I don't know how many people were traveling to the show. Like I don't think there's a lot, but in essence, there should be a small local show like what Brad has, where it's like, you know, tables are 20, even $50, and you're gonna have people come in with free admission or $2 admissions, and people are gonna come in for that. I paid $2 to go to a local show, but I'm not gonna pay $10 to go into see the vendors I just seen 2 weeks ago, right? You know,
Well, it's hard
hopefully
also
my
because you're dealing with somebody who's, like you said, more corporate. He's not selling, like, they're not selling product, they're selling the show. So him making money is strictly based on admissions and tables. It's not based on Brad going and setting up a show, knowing that admission's $2, but he's going to have a table and he's probably going to sell a couple $1,000s worth of cards. And to him, that's perfect. That's all he wants. If that doesn't happen at the CSC show, then that company doesn't make money.
Right.
So.
No, you have a good point with that. But at the same time, if your dealers don't make money and people don't come, you have nothing. So you work your way up. It's kind of like you earn it, you know, like we had slab. There's a guy from New Brunswick that's doing a bunch of submissions for Slab Sharks. This is just a prime example. So he wrote us a nice email and he wants to set up at the show in June and take submissions for Slab Sharks. And he goes, yeah, I talked to Karen. We can do, you know, maybe we can do a sponsorship deal. And I was like, so when Dougie forwarded it over to me, I just said, yeah, no, happy. We'd love to have them set up there. That's great for our show. That's going to be great for our customers. I said, but as far as corporate sponsorship, I was like, no. I said, we don't need that. Why doesn't he try it? And if it works out really good and it's a positive for Slab Sharks and they enjoy it and they have success, then maybe we can do something. But let them try a little bit. It's like if I would have set up as PSA Canada and I would have got you to come out, KD, to come out to that show, I would have spent $1,500 on sponsorship. I would have had a booth there. I would have accepted submissions. We'd be out $5K.
You know, at least $6K with the shots after the first night of the show, because Kevin would have come down, would have joined us in the lounge, and we would have had to commiserate, and it would have been at least another $1,000 in drinks.
Right, but from a business owner standpoint, it's like, then I would be so sour about that. I would not want to go back. When you're building something, you got to get people in the door, and you're not going to make $1 million on the first couple of shows. You got to just sit there and say, and obviously that was an exaggeration, but you got to build up from the ground, and you got to get people to come. You got to get dealers to be happy. So maybe you don't make money on your first 2 or 3 shows, you know, but that's all part of business, right? And I hope that they do realize that, bring the cost down. Maybe do it at a different venue. Not quite as nice, because I mean, I know that was a pretty penny that they had to pay to get it there, right?
To put it in that conference center, because they can do a lot of different conferences there, and they tend to be expensive.
But it's like, hey, Kevin, do you want to set up and take submissions here? We're going to give you a booth for free. See if you can drive some traffic for us. And then all of a sudden, if it's great and it works, then you start to build on that. Then you want to give sponsorship. That's just business 101.
Well, to me, I just think these shows or whatever, it's like, it's more, I mean, in Toronto, I see it all the time. Like, there's all these little shows every weekend, right? So, and somebody's got a little show here, a little show there, whatever. And it's like you said, I mean, if we can go in there, even at $1,500 is corporate sponsorship, if you're doing that there, I'd rather pay $50 a table and go to 10 of them and still have $1,000. And if I lived in Toronto area, you know, and go to all these shows every weekend or whatever, have 4 of them in a month, which will probably collect more than just that one show at one place. I think for him, the first show was great. The admission one, I think, was $5. And then when we went to the Mississauga one, he increased it to $10. So, which is fine. There was a lot of people, but also was next door as well. And that created a whole bunch of people as well. You know, so it kind of gave the perception that it's really, really busy. But I think, I mean, but everything's right. You can't double the amount right away. You can't build on just one. It has to be a few of them that has to be successful, that people understand and know, and then continue from there. And then, down the road, then make money, right? So
that's true. And it's not just their show too, Carl. Like, this is not just directed to them. I don't think us as a company, PSA Canada, besides the Toronto Expo, maybe Edmonton, we have not made money at any of these any of these shows that we go to, it's not been a profitable venture. From just simply taking in submissions at a show, Kevin, like when you did the CS, you lost money. It just
Oh, I got destroyed.
right. But by the time you do all this, it's just not. Now, is it part of us to market ourselves, to get it out there and hopefully build up customers? We build up faith. People see us going coast to coast and doing all this. Absolutely. That's all part of it. But as far as a money-making venture, and every time we go to set up a booth, we can have the exact same 3 or 4 tables as the person next to us. But if we use PSA Canada, the price is double or triple. Everyone, because we're corporate. There's no difference to me, like that. That's one thing that I don't like. I just think that, if you're going to rent a table, whether you're corporates, whatever you are, it should be the same price as everyone's paying. That's my personal opinion on it. But
Now, a couple of quick things. So a couple of quick thoughts based on what you guys are saying, and thank you. There's a lot of good input there. Let me kind of position it this way as well. To your point, the first show did well in Markham. Then they did the Mississauga show. The Mississauga show had tons of foot traffic. And Kevin asked a very good question, because even though there was a ton of foot traffic, I talked to a lot of the different dealers and it didn't feel like they were doing a ton of sales, but there was a lot of foot traffic. This one was the worst case scenario. This was light foot traffic and sales struggled and everything because there wasn't physically people in the room. The tables were expensive. And also, Brad, if memory serves me, I think the admission was $15.
yeah.
Which,
Boys,
by
I'm
the
ducking
way,
out for a sec. I'll be right back. My daughter just come in, so
Go
I'll
ahead.
be 1 sec.
The thing is, and Luke, you can attest to this, $15 is basically what the Expo charges.
Yep.
$15 for one day. And this is, it's like, guys, you're not the Expo. You're running this 2-day show here in Markham in a very nice location. But, maybe it's cost of location. But booth prices are expensive. $15 to enter. That could have deterred some people too, by the way. Let's not downplay that, because when they were advertising, it is $15 entry. And it's like, well, it's kind of expensive. How many tables do you actually have? How many dealers are we talking about? Because for a lot of these small shows, and to your point, Luke, there's some small shows that are in distilleries or in like a couple of bars or whatever, and small mall shows and things like that.
There's one at the Lions Club in St. Thomas, Ontario.
There you go. But look, and let's put it this way. I don't know, Kevin. Here's a random thought. How much cheaper do you think this would have been if they had done it in a venue somewhere in Hamilton?
Oh my God!
A lot of the stuff there is cheap. A lot of the stuff there is cheap.
Not like a third of the price, maybe.
Probably.
Even at $100 a table.
Yeah.
Even call it $100 or $50 a table, and $200 for this premium 4 square thing.
Yeah.
You'd probably have some significant traffic, and people in the GTA aren't opposed to traveling to Hamilton. I can promise you that. Like, I used to drive an hour each way to work when I lived in Toronto, and it was just the norm.
Well, look, but I'm just presenting this from somebody who basically hasn't owned a car in years, hasn't done anything. Guess what? You can still get to it on the go.
Yep.
Because you can go to the go and then you can hit. And by the way, I've made that trip. You just put on your earpods and you travel down. By the way, you can do it pretty much cruising over, and then you go over and there's a station right there. If you're within striking distance of the go station there, it's not that hard for people who commute. People in
And
a
I'm
car,
sure
it's not that
Hamilton's
difficult.
craving for something to do at their convention center, right? Like, you're competing with some big things in the GTA, like sample sales and that kind of stuff that will pay for those venues, whereas Hamilton's probably like desperate for that kind of stuff. I know London has a beautiful convention center that is empty almost every weekend,
Yeah.
right? So
my point though is there are venues that are a little bit off the beaten path, but they're still in the GTA. They're still within striking range, and that'll play into kind of Dave's comment here. He goes, at $20 a table, I'd probably drive 2 hours. And in the scenario I gave, it's not 2 hours for a lot of folks in GTA. It's actually much less than that. And just sit there and BS with a sign on the table saying buying. So if the table cost was reasonable enough, there are people that would. By the way, I'll be 100% blunt. I was joking with somebody. I was having a conversation with somebody, and they were saying like, well, Carlos, would you ever consider setting up? I'm like, well, not the price of these tables. But then when I started walking by and looking at a couple of tables, I probably got more crap sitting in boxes. I could probably fill up a table easier than some of these guys do. But at the price they're doing it at, like, geez, I'd have to sell out a bunch of my stuff. So Brad, I was just making a quick point with Kevin and the guys is that. And by the way, I also want to acknowledge Eric. Sorry that it took me a while to get to your comments. So good evening. I was just going to say that I was chatting with them. If they tried this in a location somewhere, say in Hamilton, the venue cost would be much lower. It's still in the GTA. There's still a lot of things within striking distance of it, but that would have reduced the cost. You wouldn't have had to ask for as much in the door. it might have been a little bit easier to actually make this profitable. By the way, you could have then reduced the table price, which in turn would have made your dealers more profitable, and more of them would have stuck it out to Sunday. You would have actually given more of them a chance to actually be profitable, and maybe it would have been worth their while to do it. And for other folks, they could have still attended and still done it because it's still in striking distance for a lot of us here in the GTA. But the costs became so prohibitive that that might have frightened a couple of people off. It's just a theory that I'm just throwing out there.
It is true, and obviously the other thing too that I don't think we really touched on, the market is cool right now. There's no doubt about it. It's always this time of year right now. It didn't help, obviously. I know we have your team, Carlos, playing in the NHL playoffs still, but
well, don't forget also Luke's team. He's got his Jason Robertson pump going.
yeah,
Come on, Luke, we got this, buddy. We got this.
But when you look at it, honestly, like all these things are factors into it. There's a little bit of the burnout. The hobby's a little bit cooler right now. People were upset that Toronto got knocked out. There's lots of stuff. There's lots of factors that also played into it, why things could be a little slower. Now on next week's show, we'll talk about our Halifax show and we'll see. But I expect it to be another great show for us. Fingers crossed.
There you go. Good stuff. So yeah, we wanted to chat a little bit about the CSU one since we did get a chance to visit it and participate in a little bit. We'll see what happens down the road. I love the fact that they're trying to have these shows. It might have been a little too ambitious. Maybe that would be my big takeaway. If we're being a high-level constructive takeaway, it might have been a little too ambitious for what it was. I appreciated the attempt. I still enjoyed it for what it was. There's still elements of it, but almost all the enjoyment I got out of it was the other elements to it. I like I said, I sat and I watched the games in the lounge, hanging out. Brad and I got a good chance to chat. We had the nice breakfast. Bobby and myself and Brad had a good conversation going, and then honestly, we just hung out and we looked around. Now, question for you, Brad. Obviously, I left around lunchtime, so a little bit after that. In the time that you remained there, did anything ever change? Was there ever another wave of people or anything with that?
No, there was nothing that, not while I was there. There wasn't. Okay. So what did I do? I had some great conversations. It was great to see guys. I picked up the super high-end Pokemon card. That was my,
oh yes, that's right.
That was my big reason for going up as well. I don't know. I can't even tell you what card it is, Kevin, but I know the guy flew to Japan to buy it. He's super, I won't mention his name, but super nice guy. One of the nicest guys you could ever talk to.
It's the printing plate used in the original version that it was actually called Cheese-String-a-mon. It's the only one that exists. It's like, wait a minute, we can't actually call it that. Carlos knows. They tried to destroy it and they couldn't.
Yeah. So anyway, that was quite the adventure itself, going to pick up the card and then take it back, and then we shipped it safely to Santa Ana for him, which was great because he was very nervous about. He did not want to send it himself, and on those high-end cards for us, it's not financially worthwhile for us to ship those. But at the end of the day, with our insurance policy through PSA, he really appreciated us doing that, knowing that his card was fully insured to get there. So that makes a big, big difference.
Show me what card it is after. I'm curious.
No, I will for sure. It's like 700,000 point card or something, or 70,000 point card.
I think I know who it is.
I just don't want to say it's not.
Yeah, no, he messaged me and I told him to go to the show, so I know exactly who it is. It's the Umbreon points card or the Flareon, one of them. I know what card it is.
Yeah, he's been submitting for a couple of years now with us. He always says we're about 3 years. He was like he started when I first started. Great guy.
Yeah.
Fair enough. So Bobby here, good evening, says too close to Expo maybe. I think there's a lot of factors that played into it. I also want to get Nova's question. So Nova, sorry, it took us a while. We were deep in that conversation. Once Luke got into it and Kevin got into it, everybody got to opine on it. This was a good conversation piece for us. So the question was, will the full PSA team be at the grand opening of the new PSA Canada / AMG store? Are you flying Kevin and I in to visit? I mean, Alexander. I mean the AMG store. Totally the AMG store.
100%. Everyone's going to be invited. I know that we do have, obviously
invited. Carlos, get there yourself.
The Friday night crew: Carlos, Bobby, Eric, Yannick, whoever wants to come out. Kevin, Luke. We'll have all kinds of. We're going to do it big. We'll have all kinds of local celebrities there, and we're also bringing in some hobby heavyweights. Who knows? We might even have some of the big wheels from PSA come down for it. So
wow, Kevin, we might have to get our Travels points cards updated. Like, dang, all right.
When is the grand opening scheduled again?
So, I'll know sooner. Yeah. Any time you do a project, anytime I've ever done a commercial project, you always have to set a date. So we set a date of July 1st. Whether or not that's going to be July 14th, 10th, 7th, we don't know yet, but you need to set a date. Otherwise, it just keeps on
If
going.
you want to do it somewhere near the 12th, Brad, that's my
Well-
birthday. So then you can give me a coupon for flights down to the thing. That can be
Yeah,
my
there
birthday
you go.
present. I'm just throwing it out there.
And I'll get you a room right above Alexander Keith's Brewery. That was the first bar I have ever owned.
I will
right
vlog,
in Keith's
but
Brewery.
I will live stream and vlog that every single night I'm there, Brad. There'll be content for days. For days.
We can sit outside and have those lobster rolls too.
Amazing.
Absolutely.
Kevin, you in? This is already looking like some solid content.
I'm allergic to shellfish, but I'm in.
I don't even care about seafood. That's not the point, Kevin. That's not the point. It doesn't matter. We'll let Luke eat it and enjoy it for us. That's the important part.
And we'll have Nova Grower there too.
That's right.
So there you go.
So there you go, Nova. So thank you for the question. Sorry it took a little bit to get back to it.
Absolutely.
So Eric says PSA Canada's the best. Appreciate that, Eric. Thank you. Oh, is that a Toronto Raptors tattoo picture? That's what it looks like to me. Yeah. Looks interesting. Nicely done. Has Carlos had true Halifax donair or garlic fingers? I have not. Cannot say that I have. I've never been out in Atlantic Canada. That's why I was joking with Brad. I go, just give me an excuse. Look, as long as we can work out some kind of arrangement. That's why I say, Kevin, if this is working out as an arrangement, this could work for us. We can make this happen.
There you go. There you go.
Can we borrow the corporate jet?
That's right. That's what I'm saying. Send the Lear. I'm near enough to
stop-
Pearson. I can make this happen. Send the Lear.
We can stop off in Montreal and get Lester's. Fly out, right?
So hold on. If you had like one of those cartoon maps, it'd be like all of a sudden you look at Atlantic Canada, you just see the plane. First it flies all the way over to Alberta, picks up Luke, and then all of a sudden goes to Ontario. Kevin and Carlos get on Montreal over to Atlantic Canada. Wow, the jet's getting some use. That's pretty hardcore.
It's funny because when me and Luke went to Lester's for our smoked beef sandwich, we went and I was like, yep, this is the exact same Lester's that I remember. Because when we flew back from Pittsburgh one time, my buddy goes, you know what? We're going to stop in Montreal and go to Lester's, grab some smoked meat sandwiches on the way back to Halifax. So we landed. He landed the plane. We left Pittsburgh. We landed the plane in Montreal. We went, sat on the patio at Lester's, ate smoked meat sandwiches, back on the plane, back to Halifax. It was priceless. It was awesome. What a memory.
See, Kevin, I've joked about this highfalutin jet flying lifestyle, but
I know.
it's sounding a lot closer to the reality.
It is.
Like,
It is. It sounded like it.
Once in a lifetime.
It's like I feel like we're downplaying this a little bit. We might have to like the truth might be a little even further than we thought it was. So Eric here says, yeah, it is good stuff. Raptors are my team. Hey, sounds good. Nova says feels like a lobster boil is in order. Oh man,
Yeah.
Sounds like
all the stuff in there.
Sounds like an EpiPen.
Yeah, I've never been a big seafood guy. Allergies are not my issue, but it's one of those things I've never been into it. But yeah, if you're allergic, then not so good. Might not be in that case. You enjoy it in spirit. Hey, y'all enjoy it. You enjoy it.
You know what? The lobster, like the seafood in Halifax, is totally different. For some reason, it's totally different than anywhere else in this country. And they might.
You
ship
mean
it
being near the
across
ocean?
Oh, it's
I
just
bet you
amazing.
I'm
So
so
are
right.
you saying that you would not eat fish out of our glorious Lake Ontario with its 3 eyes? Like it's fine.
They don't sell. It's not fish. It's like either lobster or clams or scallops. I mean, yeah, it's amazing there.
Luke, when are you moving over there?
I was gonna say, sounds like you're pitching yourself on
Hey,
this.
but if I moved over there, then I'd be eating that stuff like every day. It'd just be normal. So it's better to just go there and enjoy it once in a while, right?
So what you're saying is you asked Brad to send for the jet.
Yeah.
And you're like, hey, I'm feeling like some seafood today, Brad. Flies all the way back. All right, I see your highfalutin ways, Luke. I get it. You got
Or
certain
maybe
demands and certain
Brad
requirements.
delivers the food to Luke.
Mm-hmm.
Hey, you can
Save it
pick up.
there and back.
I don't think it's lobster season at that time or whatever when the grand opening's in, but you can pick up the lobster and bring it back. So last time I picked up, I think it was like 36 lobsters or something like that, and
Oh, yeah.
came back with me on my plane.
No, like Luke, we actually went for lobsters. We went over to the wharf in Dartmouth, and
Eastern
he
Passage,
bought
yeah.
lobsters, and he put them all in like. I can't imagine he did. He did do this. This is so bizarre. He wrapped them up in like garbage bags and like tape and stuck them all in his luggage, like all this lobster. And he checked his bag, and I'm like, that's gonna like leak everywhere. Like it's gonna be terrible. He's like, no, it's all good. He reminded me of the guys that you see on Border Patrol when they come across the border, and the guard asked them like, do you have anything that you're not supposed to have in there? And you're like, you see the guys, they're like, no, and they open it up, and there's like 40 pounds of meats, and there's like. It's exactly what it reminded me of. It. No, I got nothing in there, officer. Nothing at all except for 32 lobsters.
Right there. This guy. He's going to be the one on the next episode, Brad. Except it's going to be like, do you have anything to declare? But it's going to be like, it's going to be July, and he's going to be in this big puffy jacket, and he's going to be walking like the Michelin man in. It's like, do you have anything to declare? Nope.
Yeah.
Luke, it's like, sir, why are you wearing? It's like, oh, I'm just really cold. I'm just really cold. Leave me be. It's fine. Everything's good.
Luke, are you going to go to the National? Because if so, I don't want to come near you at the airport.
The questions we can't answer.
I still don't know if I'm going.
Wow.
You have burnout right now. Give it another 2 or 3 weeks and everything will change in your world.
My kid is coming to Chicago.
I know, but I'm having a granddaughter before.
But are they bringing them? But is he bringing you with him? Is the question.
No, he's going on his own trip.
I was about to say like that. All you said is that your kids go to Chicago. That has nothing to do. By the way, it's in Rosemont, not Chicago. A lot of people.
I'm just gonna pass him to Sherry, and me and Brad are gonna go walk the show the whole day.
Yeah, it's funny. I invited my daughter to come with. I said, "Yeah, you can come with us for the week in Chicago," and she's like, "Nah, Chicago doesn't do it for me." I was like, "Good point." She's like, "What? You tell me why I would enjoy Chicago," and I was like, "Nope, you got me. Can't say anything." So
better than Atlantic City.
Isn't there
like that? That's a low bar, sir. That is a low bar.
Well, I mean, I got rear-ended 15 seconds into getting into Atlantic City, so full on hit and run.
Yeah, the problem with Chicago is that, well, I shouldn't say the problem with Chicago is that realistically, like honestly, if you go to the National there, you're not going to Chicago anyway. You're going to Rosemont. Like it's separate from it. The other piece of the puzzle is, so if you're in the National, you're probably going to be in that vicinity the whole time anyway. You may venture into Chicago, but if you do, it's going to be for like very specific things. Like in the original plan, if I had had the time and the ability to do so, I was going to go. But honestly, I was going to go catch a White Sox or a Cubs game. That was going to be part of the deal for one of the days for sure. But yeah, it would be like visit Chicago for a specific couple of things, and then head back over to Rosemont, and then be in the area there for the. But I wouldn't want to be on the show floor the whole time. That would never be my plan. That's not how I have a good time with these shows. But they're part of it. They're part of the story and they're part of the tale. But it's tough. It's tough.
Mm-hmm.
So
you guys got what? Oh yeah, sorry. You can do the questions.
No, go ahead. I was just about to read the comment, but go ahead.
I was just going to say, did anyone have any other cool pickups in the last week or so?
Oh, Brad's trying to set himself up, is he? Is there something you would like to? Before we get to you, we'll deal with you in a second. Does anyone else want to talk about anything? Yeah, we'll get to you in a second. Does anyone else want to talk? Luke, have you brought home any lobsters recently?
No.
Legally or illegally? In carry-on?
Nope.
Did you bring back several sandwiches? Don't lie to the people.
I did.
How many sandwiches are we talking about?
Because I haven't been vacuumed.
Can you start your own franchise? Did you start enough to start your own franchise?
No. It's just for pure enjoyment. I don't need to sell them.
All right. Fine. Be that way. All right, Kevin, any recent pickups? Anything interesting before Brad has his moment?
Bought some Pokemon stuff.
Where's my cheese string I'm on, Kevin?
I got a what's it called? Got some 2000 tops unopened boxes that I bought and sold before I even got them, so that was good. That's always a good one. I literally just received the box, put the label on it, and sent it out the door. That was good. Got a big collection coming up in a couple weeks, I think, though. So I'll leave that one to we'll see.
All right. All good. So Nova was here just saying, autism and bad social anxiety won't be the grand opening, and I know PSA Canada here already replied. I think that's Sherry, so all good. No worries. All good. So we got that covered here. Bobby has a good comment here. Picked up a nice breakfast at the CSU show. It's facts. Facts, sir. It was a good breakfast. Really expensive though, Brad. I got to be honest. It's like for $30 breakfast, it better be good. It better be good.
Well, I just thought yours came with your room. That was yeah. We need to get you hooked up with the Hilton Honors points.
Oh well, the thing is, I feel like I had the card thing in there. I feel like I had the card thing, but I forgot what the setup is for it. I gave him my information. I go see if you can find the account.
Yeah.
I had made one previously, but whatever. I got the E126 Alexander I was searching for. Excellent, Dave. Good to hear. Good to hear. All right, Brad, go ahead. Shameless is what. Look, this is shameless. In a realm of shamelessness, this is one of the more shameless.
I was just going to say that I picked up a Medano card I was so proud of that Carlos doesn't own, because I know that because it's a 1 of 1. And I'm just going to kind of just post it, play with it a little while. And I'm sure this will get a nice home at some point.
Mm-hmm. Indeed.
But
so
we've been buying an absolute ton of stuff at AMG. Tons of stuff. It's been very, very exciting times. Lots of stuff through the door, lots of stuff going out the door.
Nice. Oh, actually, let me ask you one more question since then we'll get off the topic. And by the way, guys, if there's anything else you want to ask about, but feel free. We've been having we actually got a lot of mileage out of that CSC show conversation. I figured we would, but I thought it would be fun to have that discussion. Aside from the stuff that I was there that I saw, did you end up picking up anything? Obviously, other than the conversations and everything, did you actually end up picking up anything else at the CSC show while we were there?
I did a deal with Ben and his buddies, the crew, the young guys that are doing their own show. So I bought some stuff from them.
Cool.
Steve Largent autograph, Anthony Edwards signed mosaic card. A few things. Then at trade night, I bought some Young Guns from a guy outside. I bought a Crosby auto.
Okay.
Montreal was a lot better for that.
Yeah.
Montreal, I picked up some super cool items from my Austin Powers. Oh,
yeah, your Noise Boys.
Yeah.
Oh, this is Austin Powers
that's right.
sticker box, which is awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah, I picked up that. I got a few. Yeah, these are pretty cool. I got these, which are the Noise Boys, both PSA 10s. I bought those from a customer that had them graded, and then I purchased them from them for my own collection. So the Lemusa Pop 1.
Yep.
And PSA 10, and the Gretzky's a Pop 3, but I love those cards. And then I bought Essential Credentials, Mark Messier, numbered out of 11.
Yep, that's a nice one.
And a PSA 10, so that's a Pop 1 as well. And then just a whole bunch of little cool things that I picked up. But overall it was fun. It was exciting. Oh, this is what we got. This is Atomic Refractor numbered 100 Gretzky.
Oh, nice.
We picked that up at AMG. A Jordan 2-2 out of 499. These are all going in for grading.
A classic, yep.
Gold script, Steve Eisman out of 25.
Nice.
Bergeron quad out of...
Wait, did you say gold script or superscript? Superscript is out of 25.
Yes, correct.
Okay.
Superscript out of 25. Another Bergeron rookie out of 11.99.
Yep.
I love that. Fleury rookie, Future Watch, another Fleury rookie. I love these cards.
Yep.
Yeah, so we picked up all kinds of cool stuff this week. And then we bought a monster collection of stuff today that we'll have out in the next couple weeks.
Nice. And that was, I showed that in the video, but I picked up, they had this one of the tables, so I made a deal for it with it. So out of 5 Medano Auto, so picked up that one. So again, even at a show where we had that whole discussion about how the show unfortunately was a little bit disappointing compared to what it would have been, I still found something for my PC. Most of the other stuff that I picked up was not for my PC. Honestly, some of the stuff was, okay, well, while I'm here, this is priced appropriately. I'll probably just, flip it or move it. Some of the stuff I've already sold. But I was still able to pick up a card for the PC. So, you know what? Not a total loss. Even and it was a fun time, enjoyable, good conversations, good hangout, and I too, like Bobby Burrell, picked up a nice breakfast at the CSC show.
Yeah,
It worked out.
But the other thing I didn't talk too much about PSA actually tonight and our orders, etc. But we have a ton of cards that have come back and we're getting out now. We've updated the website. We're back on track. The website will be updated every 3 or 4 days. We had that little week to 2 week hiatus when we just simply didn't have the time to do it. I think Kevin and Luke are going to take a turn over the next couple of weeks to update that because it's so much fun to update 1,200 lines on a Google Doc that's just back and forth.
Kevin literally
look at
messages
the
me
time.
nonstop
Oh
on
my
Facebook.
God. The timing. Sorry.
No, Kevin, focus, man, focus. Kevin literally messages me every couple of hours, Brad, and he just won't shut up about how much he loves updating Google Sheets. That's literally, I get message ping. I don't even check Facebook. I don't have it on any of my notifications. I get an email saying Kevin sent you a message on Facebook. I check. Carlos, Google Sheets, love them.
Realistically, though, you guys disappear for a week to do shows, and my customers are like, "Hey, what's going on? The sheet hasn't been updated since this day, this and that." I'm like, you realize, like, no one else has this. Like, no one else is live updating the orders every 3 days or 4 days, and there's been 3 shows in 4 weeks, and people are flying all over the place. Like, if you need me to look up your order, I can look up your order, but like, no one else has this, so I don't know. And then the best part is the people who are the loudest, it gets updated, and then I get a message afterwards, so like, it still hasn't moved. And I'm like, really?
Yeah, it's nuts. And honestly, I don't know. Me and Luke had some serious heart-to-heart conversations about this. I don't know from a business standpoint if it's actually a good idea to do that. I'm thinking it's causing us more headaches having it than I think it was when we didn't have it. So I'm really torn. Like, it's nice to have the people that we give them the order number, they can check it. But now I get, man, my order's been stuck in Q1 for such a long time. Something wrong with it? No, it's just this happens. Oh, my order's stuck in Q2. I know.
It's that whole thing, right? Like, it's that whole thing where, like, our background struggles that we've dealt with are now in front of everybody else, right? Like, me and you have those conversations all the time where I'm like, this order has been in QA2 for 25 business days. Like, what is going on? And you're like, yeah, like, I know it happens, and then it ships. It always ships. I don't know what, like, but now everyone has access to that, and they don't understand the process. So it's just a constant thing of being like, well, how come it's still in grading? How come my March order is ahead of my February order? I was just like, oh my God. Please leave me alone.
And in all honesty, from PSA, from an operational standpoint, as you could see, 1.3 million cards, I think a record month last month. They're cleaning up a lot of these orders, and looking at our spreadsheet now, when you look at it, things aren't going to go over the door-to-door 120 days. Like, now it's more like that 60 days, 65 days. You're really starting to see that happen on all these orders. The amount of orders that shipped, that are in shipping or have shipped this week already, it's been awesome. It's great to see. We're getting, some guys are getting their orders back in 35, 40 days. Again, there's always going to be one that's going to take 100 days, but the quicker that we can get the orders in as well through the whole process, we expedited. We did a deal with KD Collectibles. Obviously, with Kevin, there's no one bigger, and I'm not just saying this to give him a little pat on the back, but nobody submits more cards to PSA in Canada as an individual than Kevin. No doubt about it. So now we've streamlined his process, which is going to take about probably 7 days on all his orders. It's going to speed up his orders by a week, which is great. Same as what we've done with Luke. Like, once Luke gets those orders in, we're shipping directly. So that's a big, big help as we keep on improving our operations with PSA Canada. And with our partnership with PSA, things are looking up. So
there you go. He's trying to butter you up so that he won't completely cover the Learjet flight. So you're gonna have to chip in a little bit there, Kevin. Shift the jet fuel.
Yeah.
I mean, I'll save on the shipping one way. It's fine. I'll do it. I'm in.
Yeah.
So Mark here, sorry it took a little bit, Mark. We were having a nice conversation there. I'll be in tomorrow to pick up the Bret Hart pitcher / auto if it's still available. I love the Bret Hart callback. Love it. So thank you, Mark.
Yeah.
James here says Amazon is a straight patience even further than ever before. Yes, I agree with that. But Prime shipping is a hell of a drug. But it's the same thing that happened with the internet. Because in my house we had internet early on in '94, and then we had broadband internet in '99, and I remember dial-up internet. And the thing is, I can't go back, Brad. I can't do it. I can't. I used to be able to sit there and deal with the stupid modem sound, and that's like now it drives me to madness. I can't do it, Brad. I can't go back. I got my broadband. I need it faster. I need it to download before I even figured out what I was downloading. It should already be on the computer.
Yeah.
That's where we're at now. Unfortunately, attention spans have shrunk. It's a bad thing, but it happens.
I almost wonder, do you think, like, if from a customer standpoint, this is a general conversation, maybe anyone in the chat, or I want to pick your guys' brains as well.
Good.
One of the things that would be much easier for it is if we just put the person's name with the sub number and we put it out there. But I know people don't want to have their names attached to something, so that always makes it difficult.
You can do initials.
Yeah.
I think initials would be kind of your middle ground that gives them at least just to help them.
Unless you gave people a customer number.
Yeah.
Yeah, true.
Yeah, that's the other one because that would at least keep it so that they would know what it is.
Confidentiality wise, I know I have some people that wouldn't want their name posted anywhere.
Sure.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah. No, that's fair.
But
customer number then becomes more another back end stuff that needs to be done.
Exactly. That's the downside is then we have to do their customer number lookup, do all that stuff, and heaven forbid you put a number in wrong, and then you got, it's.
Yeah. Well, now look, the reality is that now you're finding a middle ground here, and unfortunately, people do want updates. They do want to know, but a lot of people don't realize the amount of little intermittent steps in between, and it's almost like they don't want to know how the sausage is made, but on the other hand, they want to know what ingredients are in it. So it's like, well, you can't really have both ways. As soon as you know how the sausage is made, you understand there's going to be a lot of elements to it, and the PSA gods work in mysterious ways.
Yeah.
Very mysterious ways.
Like we all, I mean, all of us, we've all been on the other side of it where we've submitted ourselves to other people, whatever, and, done the things. And I get it. Like we get it, and definitely for sure. But it's like, yeah, there's a lot of now doing all this stuff. There's a lot of back end stuff that needs to be done. And then that nobody really knows or sees what's happening out there. Right. But at the end of the day, it's just, it's just, the whole thing is, it's all about trust. You give the cards at the show, they're given away already. They're given to us. We're handling, we're taking care of them. It's trust that it's going to get in there and it's going to be shipped as soon as we can, like when it's possible, right? So,
well, I think one of the part that I struggle with is that a lot of people that I deal with don't realize that I'm bigger. I know this sounds bad, but that I'm bigger than I actually am. Like they think I'm small scale. It's a couple hundred cards a month, and then they see what happens on the back end all of a sudden. And like my wife is like, my wife now does all my customer service stuff. Like she does all the messaging, she deals with all that. And like day one, she came upstairs and she apologized, and she's like, "I'm sorry, I had no idea what you went through on a day-to-day basis." Just from people messaging you, like not even dealing with like submissions, invoicing, contacting Brad, dealing with payments, all that kind of stuff. It's strictly the people who are messaging me being like, "Hey, how do I do this? Hey, what's going on with that?" And it's just like, it's a lot for, I mean, I can't even imagine what it is for like Brad and Sherry, but it's a lot for one person. I'm sure Luke is in a similar boat where like sometimes it's just like, you're floored at the amount of stuff that you have to deal with that is just day to day.
It is, and it's true. And I know when you look at the numbers, say we submitted to PSA in the last month. I know if Baubles isn't in the chat, but I know from him being a group submitter in the US as well, like we submitted 25,000 cards. Like I know Joe who's another guy that I really like in the hobby. Joe from
I was going to say got baseball cards.
Got baseball cards. Like
yeah.
He had a phenomenal, I think he said a month or 4 or 5 weeks or whatever it was, where he submitted 12,000. Like their business tripled that month. And he has a big operation and they have a whole crew. They do a lot more. They wipe cards. They do a lot of stuff on that back end. But for us, like to submit 25,000 cards, like that's a lot of work from probably, let's say, how many customers would you say between all three of us together combined? Like 3,000, 35, maybe 3,000 or 4,000 customers. So it's like, and you're answering the phone calls at all hours of the night. And again, we're making money and I don't want to complain about that, but we are working pretty much 18 hours a day, 7 days a week to do absolutely the best we possibly can and safe and secure. At the end of the day, yeah, we maybe sometimes we we took a payment and we didn't realize, and we didn't get it shipped out within 24 hours. It took us 72 hours, something like that's happened, but we get everyone's cards back safely and securely. Like, that's the number one focus. And sometimes people forget about that. And it's not to get a pat on the back, but that's our number one priority. It's like, hey, UPS sent this package to the complete wrong address. Well, that's Sherry's on the phone with UPS for an hour, getting this redirected. They're getting it picked up. We've sent taxis to other people's houses before the packages were dropped off to pick them up. And all of a sudden you do that on it, you make a couple bucks a card. Afterwards, you're down a couple $100 by this whole transaction's done, but it's all part of it, right? So
there you go. CC says, I don't know your business from the inside, but from the outside, you guys do an amazing job. You have the volume you can handle. Kudos to the PSA Canada team. Thank you, CC.
We appreciate that. And Carlos, me and you talked about it as well when we were up at the CSU show. Like, we have amazing customers, and 95% of the people that we deal with, maybe even a higher number, are awesome, completely get it. It's a pleasure doing business with them. I love having the conversations I have. I love seeing the cards. I love all that. But it's like, it's any business out there. It's that, the 5% or 1%, whatever that number is, that can just take up 90% of your time when you could be doing things more efficiently for the good people. You get these other people that you just, no matter what you do, you cannot make them happy.
Which is why, Brad, I will make time available to you so that I can train your customer service people in dealing with these special cases. I happen to have a very unique skill set in exactly how to show the appropriate compassion, respect that these people deserve.
Yeah. I had to
Luke,
say
not one word from you, Luke. Not one word.
Nope.
That sounded like sincere. If we just heard the audio version, it sounded good. It sounded good.
Yeah. It's funny when you say things to people. I remember one guy I said, we just shouldn't do business. He goes, I didn't do anything wrong. I said, nope, you did nothing wrong. It's 100% me. I just wish you all the best. I just think we should not do business anymore. And he couldn't understand what I was trying to say. He was like, well, I was like, no, it's all me. I choose not to do business anymore with you. Yeah. It just, it didn't work. There's nothing.
It's a very nice way of saying sometimes. Like I used to come from a call center environment where we used to do, and I used to do escalations and dealing with a lot of different folks. And long story short, 90% of the time it was expectations. Certain folk expected a certain amount of things, but for what they brought to the table as far as business. And it's a mean way of saying it, but it's realistic. Sometimes some customers are more trouble than they're worth. You want customers, you want to be able to do it. But to your point, 97.5% of the people you deal with are great. Mm-hmm. It's going to go well. Communication lines are open. You can do a lot of good stuff. And if there's an issue, you can have a normal conversation and it'll be fine. And everybody will get what they need to. But it's the 2.5% or whatever the case is going to be, like, who will eat up 80% of the time. They need more hands-on. They need constant, follow-up and back and forth. And as soon as it happens, it's like, well, the problem is I'm spending all this time with you where I've got all the rest of these people that are doing business with us too, and they're fantastic. And if there is an issue, we can get on the phone, we'll have a conversation, we'll fix it. We'll fix everything. And then with you, it doesn't matter. Whether we fix it or not, then I'll hear from you again in a couple of days or a week or 6 hours. It won't matter. So, and that's where, again, there's escalation experts who handle this kind of thing. Just throwing it out there.
It's good. And there's customers that literally you get the phone call. And today I had a nice gentleman. At first he's like, yeah, I submitted some cards at Toronto, not sure where they're at or what I do. And at that, it was just, I was in a little bit of an irritable state because that was probably the 50th phone call of the day. And it was only 11 o'clock in the morning. And I was like, but I could tell he was an older gentleman. And I just kind of bit my tongue. And he goes, honestly, I know the girl, her name was Sherry. She took my cards from me. She was fantastic. But everything she told me, he goes, went in one ear, right out the other. I just was so excited. And I said, I totally get it. I said, let's start from the beginning. And I walked him through it and I talked to him for 15 minutes. That was all worthwhile because he wasn't giving me any BS story. Mm-hmm. He literally, it was in one ear, out the other. He just was excited to get his cards graded for the first time. So you spend all the time with that guy. But if you would have gave me some other thing, like no one told me, I'd be like, nope, you're completely full of it. Because everybody tells you the exact same thing on repeat.
Yeah. So James and CC have the right verbiage here. I've only had to fire a customer a few times. I appreciate the work involved. That's the term. Sometimes you do have to fire your customer. That's the reality of it in business. That's the truth. CC says, Brad, you're so right. In business, sometimes we need to fire some of the real trouble customers. Just good business. Yeah. And again, the majority will be fine. The majority will be perfectly fine. And it's the nature of the beast. Unfortunately, in every genre of business that you can have, there is an element of that, and every business has to figure out how to deal with it. Go ahead, Luke.
And part of the other thing too is that, you know what, there we do have, or we try to have a life outside of the cards, and you know, having the phone, like you said, it's you know, you get phone calls, you get messages, like there's all these things you have to reply back. And when I came back from Montreal, I got home at like 4 a.m. I'm getting a phone call at like 7 a.m. right away. So I have to deal with the situation. Now I'm up again, and now I have to work from that point on until all day, right? But which is, like Brad said, it's part of the job, and it's great, you know. But sometimes people have to understand that we try to have a life outside of this, right?
It's what I love. I love the Expo when I finally get a chance to look at my phone at 8 p.m. and I have 2,100 missed notifications in one day, and I'm just like, oh, great, that's awesome. I'll see that later tonight. So it's true. It's a part of the job, and it's part of what it takes. But there are definitely some unrealistic expectations, but also some that are realistic, and sometimes expectations fall short of what they expect, and that's unfortunate, but
yeah,
they won't find any better.
Yeah. So Nico, so for Nico, that one's for you, Luke. So this one's submission number for Nico.
Yep, I got your email yesterday. I will reply back to it when I have it all, for sure. I don't want to give you half of it, so
yeah, sounds good. All right, so I think that touches on the main pieces. We got a fair bit there. Anything else we want to touch on then before we call her a night?
I'm hoping my son naps well tonight. I don't call it sleeping because it's not sleeping; it's napping.
No, I think we covered all the points. Appreciate everyone in the chat as well. And Carla, at the very beginning, me and Carlos had some great conversations about adding more to the channel as we go. Carlos is going to work not just with me, but with Luke, with Kevin, with other people, with submitters. If anyone has an idea, reach out to us, and we can either forward it directly over to Carlos as well as part of, I guess I don't want to call it your mandate, Carlos, but we want to add value to our viewers, and we want to really do more with this channel than what we've done. It's more been like a little hobby hangout. We've been talking about things, but we've achieved our number one goal, and our number one goal was to put ourselves out there, myself, Carlos, Luke, Kevin, like, so people can see us, they know us. If that makes a big difference when you're taking people's prized possessions and people are entrusting us with that, you can see us every week on here, and that's why we do it. So yeah,
absolutely.
I think that's it.
And listen, for the upteenth time, I know it's anonymous, but the individual who keeps saying Luke should do a travel show and see all the sandwich establishments, I know it's Luke. I didn't fall for it. I didn't fall for any of the aliases. I didn't fall for it. That will not be part of the content of the channel, Luke. Sorry, despite the best efforts. But shy of that, we can try we can try some of the other suggestions. We just want to get
What if
those
we had a
suggestions.
show called Sandwiches and Cards, and Luke just like met people at sandwich shops?
I might be able to work that one in the budget. I'll have to talk to Brad. I might be able to work that one out. We'll see. We'll see. We'll have to figure that one out.
if I can eat and play with cards, I'm set.
at
Yeah,
the same time.
At that point, it's like, Brad, we might be able to negotiate some discounts and some other things. We might be able to get Luke to do a lot of work for the channel for free. We basically just got to pay for the sandwich, and we're pretty much good to go. I like this idea. I'm just throwing it out there. But otherwise, we'll take some suggestions. We'll take some ideas. Brad and I did have a good discussion about it, and now that we've got this. Oh, and I'll also remind for the folks that didn't catch in the beginning of it, the caught in the second part of it. Starting next week, we're gonna bump up the show 1 hour. We're gonna do 8 p.m. Eastern time. So I'll make some adjustments and start adding the information, and we'll let everybody know. So we'll bump it up to 8 p.m. Eastern so that it makes it available. And then otherwise, the show itself will still be the same, and then we'll still be accessible this way. But we'll also start doing some standalone content because there's some ambitious things. There's a couple of fun things, including with some people that you Canada-wide may know a little bit. There's some folks that maybe we'll reach out to that we can do some stuff with, hopefully. And I think that'd be a lot of fun. And that would be an opportunity to do some of it. Maybe we'll do Luke's sandwich reviews. You know, if enough of you want that, we may incorporate that in there somewhere. Who knows? I can't promise that. I'm not going to promise that. And then we could have an episode just dedicated to Kevin finding the G-Stringamon. It's like he could do on a worldwide tour to locate it. Because
I'm waiting for them to make his card for you, Carlos.
I think you just go straight to the factory and make it happen. Let's just cut out the middleman and just go straight to the source and be like, just press the printing machine, make it happen. Let's just skip the rest of it. Real quick, I'll read a couple of these comments here. Bobby says, expectation falls short of what they expect, which is expected. That's right. Thank you, Bobby. Just pulled a redemption for a piece of glass from the Lake Tahoe game from SB Game Use. Anyone know anything about these cards? Piece of glass in the Lake Tahoe game. That looks interesting, but I'm not too familiar with that one. That's an interesting one. Luke, have you tried the Firehouse Hub at the Toronto Expo? Has he?
Absolutely.
Who are we talking about here?
It's always one of the lunch ones.
It's like, thank you for the question. That was right in the wheelhouse there. I figured that would play in. James says, burgers and breaks. There you go. There could be some breaking involved in it, Luke. Luke, that's not bad. Wolfie's on Bathurst, smoked meat, next Expo. There you go. Bobby's trying to help out a little bit. I like it. I like where you went there with that. What are you reaching for, Luke? You got a 10 of the cup there? You still haven't cracked that one open?
No. Haven't had time.
Don't
haven't had time. It's been here.
Wow. It's like, Brad, should we? He put it in play, Kevin. Should we?
If he does, I gotta go in.
Open it. Luke, you literally put behind. You say you don't have time. We're literally sitting. We're right here.
It's my treat to, after I finish everything up, it's my treat to open it up.
Wow. Bobby hit it here. We have time right now, Luke. I know. You bring that in play, and then you tease the people. What are you doing over there, Luke? What's going on? You need to go get a second 10 and then open that one up. Let's go.
No.
All right. We'll let Luke off the hook for now. He did open a case, so I guess we'll give him a little bit of a break this time. Anyway, pleasure chatting with all of you, as always. So thank you all for the comments. Again, like I said, next week we'll be at 8 p.m., so we'll bump it up an hour, and we'll give all the notifications. If you follow the Instagram and those ones, you will know that already in advance. I do recommend that. If you haven't already, subscribe to the channel, because then again, you'll know that it's upcoming. I usually put the placeholder either the night before or the day of. That way you already have it in place. And the other piece of the puzzle, if you folks could, if you'd be so kind, is hitting the like button and subscribing to the channel if you haven't already, because it helps out as we're trying to build this up. We will work on trying to get some more standalone videos on the channel. Brad and I have talked about one to show you the process and to follow along with those elements of it. That's something we'd like to do. Some how-tos. By the way, we'll take suggestions on different kinds of how-tos that might be useful to you. That would be really helpful as well. And what other content could have. Go ahead, Luke.
I have a suggestion.
You have a suggestion. Does it involve sandwiches?
How to crack a slab?
No. No.
Well, listen, I saw a tutorial where you do it down the middle. Especially if it's a 52 tops mantle, you just do it right down the middle, and it's great. It's great.
I had a heart attack.
No, for the life of me, honestly, I watched that video with Ty. I watch all Chasing Cardboard. It's awesome production. I think he's. Don't make fun of me, but I think he's a genuine good guy. but
you can hit it on your bingo card, everybody. He said it. He said the thing.
But when he cracked that slab, and I was like, and I know people do that, and then Luke's like, yeah, I'll do one, and he cracks it in the middle and pulls it apart. I'm like, it gives me instant anxiety. Even now, I got anxiety thinking about it. And Luke did that at the end of the show. He's like, yeah, I'll crack one. He cracked it in the middle, and I went, oh my god, like.
Luke, what are you doing over there, man? What's going on?
Have you watched them, Kevin? Have you watched it?
I haven't watched it. No, I haven't watched it.
Put in Chasing Cardboard, 52 mantle, and watch him how he breaks slabs. And he's like, no, he does it all the time. He cuts it at the bottom, and it splits it right up the middle. So you pull the slab apart in two pieces. You cut at the top. It's insane. It's insane.
I'd crack the corner just like you taught me, Brad. Okay, that's what I'm going to stick to.
Me too. And Luke just wants to do this so bad because I think he knows how much it stresses me out.
So
just a power tool for the corner cut.
Look at this guy. All right, so real quick, just so since we got it here. So for Chasing Cardboard, it's the one there on the top left. If you look right there, it says we cracked the Holy Grail. That's the headline on it. And it says we destroyed a 52 mantle, ... PSA slab. Slight clickbait, but that's what it is. That's the exact one in question. And he cracked the 52 tops mantle down the
Okay.
center. By the way,
I'll
for the
go watch
record, he
that.
resubmitted and got the same thing.
Yeah.
Just for the just spoiler, he cracked it in order to try to get a number on. It was in an altered holder, and then he got an altered holder.
Yeah. But there's no way when he cracked that, you can. I watched it like 5 times over, and I was like, I looked right at his face, and he was like, "Oh shit, there's no way he didn't think that something bad happened when he first did that. The way it was, and then he couldn't get it. I was like, oh boy."
That was yeah. So that would be that's a suggestion, Luke. Yes, I'll agree. Suggestion. Yeah. Say spoiler before the spoil. Bobby, at this point, literally the title gives it away. And actually, he puts the card in the picture, so you can see it's a 52 mantle on there, and he just says it. And it literally is dot PSA slab. So literally, he says he cracked the slab. So it was one of those things where it's like, I don't really care about spoiling it. That's what it is. It's a 16-minute video. You don't need 16 minutes to know that he cracked it open. And Brad already told you, he cracked it down the middle. In the end, it worked out. But it was one of those things where it's like, eh. And you got 21,000 views for it though, so it worked.
Does that have any of you?
What's
Yeah.
that?
21,000 at this point, yeah. 21,000 was about 2 weeks ago.
I at least watched it 5 or 6 times.
I was gonna say, are you sure you didn't do a couple more of those views yourself?
Oh,
Fair enough.
stressful.
It is a good series, though. I do enjoy the Chasing Cardboard series. That one was one that was going to get a little controversial, but it works out. It works out. Yep, 8 minutes times 2. That's right, sir. Facts. Good stuff. But thank you all, as I said. We'll definitely start working on some more. Like I said, to Brad's point, we did have a good conversation about it, and we are going to work on some other ideas and things. But as I also mentioned, if you check this out on replay and you have some suggestions, throw in the comment section. Love to get some thoughts and ideas, and we'll open it up to everybody here on the panel and everybody in the chat as well. If you've got any thoughts or ideas of stuff, we're not going to be able to do everything, but there's certainly some stuff that might be worthwhile trying, that we'd certainly be at least willing to look at the idea, because I want more content on this channel, and that's something I mentioned to Brad, and so it's something we agree on. I want more content on this channel so that everybody who is subscribed is rewarded by getting some videos. We're not going to spam you guys with videos every 5 minutes, but we definitely want to give you more standalone videos than what we've been able to give you so far, because I think that's something we can do now that we have our mind set on that idea. So I think that'll be a lot of fun going forward. So for now, enjoy the rest of your Thursday. We'll catch you next week 1 hour earlier, and then we'll make sure you all get the heads up on that beforehand. So thanks very much, everybody. Have yourselves a good one. Thank you, Luke. Thank you, Kevin. And thank you, Brad. And we'll catch you all in the next one.
Sweet.